Hello, I'm gonna do my reading for you. What I did for you tonight, I did a 7-card spread, or also known as a horseshoe spread. A few things before I get started. I wanted to explain that I wrote some notes. What I like to do, sorry, let me turn down the music. What I like to do is look at the cards first, and then I get my gut feeling off of it, and then I'll go through my tarot books and actually find like what the written meaning is, and then I kind of collaborate the two meanings together and make a modge podge of my notes. So if I'm looking down, that's what that means. I'm just reading my notes. So yeah, I don't know what your concerns are, so I kind of did a general reading, and the reading kind of leaned more towards relationships, so I don't know if that might be your key issue that you're having trouble with. But yeah, it's going to be a general reading, so it could pertain to money, work, family life, basically anything. But my gut instincts tell me that this issue that you're having is with your relationship, and let me know if any of this makes sense to you. A lot of times I can pick up off energies off of other people that I've had conversations with. Like I was just on the talking to my friends online, so I could be picking up their energy. So if it doesn't make sense to you, that might be why. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and get started. So the first card that I pulled for you represents the past, or the past issue that could be affecting you right now. The card that I picked for you is the Four of Pentacles reversed. I don't know if you could see that. Now, reverse cards have different meanings. I could just explain to you as I go along, but they have different meanings than what it would be regular. So if it's reversed, sometimes it's the actual opposite of what the card actually means, or it could pertain to somebody else's feelings towards the issue. But yeah, it just has multiple meanings. So my gut instinct on this card, that you have faced a lot of loss, or you have a fear of loss, either in the past. I don't know if it's like distant past, like you're like growing up, you have faced a loss. Let me read my notes and what it says. It says fear of loss, holding on too tight. Now, holding on too tight often inhibits growth or future gain, so that might be an issue. It says fears theft or loss, or have lost something, like emotional loss. This creates a detachment from others, like your family or friends, or creates trust issues. So that comes up. It increases loneliness. Again, if any of this does or doesn't make sense, just let me know. Again, it could be way off base, but let me know if it does make sense. It says material and emotional loss, alienation and mistrust, stagnation. Stagnation, when I think of stagnation is basically, to me, that things aren't moving, that the energy is not flowing like healthy, if that makes sense. No gains can be made if you're stuck basically in this negative, not environment, but this negative way of thinking. It says to tackle the source head on, need to get energy flowing again. So something in your past has inhibited you from future gain or future growth. Again, I don't know if that's making any sense, but let me know if it does. This next card that I pulled will represent the present, the here and now, what's happening. The card that I got for you is the Five of Swords. I don't know if you could see that. Basically, what's happening in this card, there was a battle or something. There was a lot of tension that happened, and it's leading up to a confrontation. And as you can see, this guy is victorious, and these guys are the losers basically, and a battle has happened, and both sides, even though this guy looks happy, these people are at a loss. Nothing really was really gained from this issue that happened. This card is a card of working within your limits, knowing your limitations, accepting restrictions. It talks about moving on, accepting defeat. Also could be the victory. I I have a feeling that this issue has to do with 2 or 3 people. Now, I don't know if it's you and your husband or vice versa. And there's not a third person coming in that kind of created conflict, but I see 2 or 3 people coming into this issue. It talks about it being a painful situation, triumphs and losses, someone taking something from another. Now, the card previously that I brought up talks about loss. And now with this card, this person is taking something from these people. So that is a loss happening. Opportunity to evaluate the situation. Is the situation too big for you to handle? Think about your position in light of both possibilities. There's fighting, a lot of fighting going on. Tension, lots of tension. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes. I wrote really small, so it's hard to read. I know I'm going kind of fast, but I'd suggest writing notes, and if any key points make sense to you, jot them down real quick, and then if you have any questions, just let me know. It says fighting, especially for something they can't have or something that's hard to work for. Best course is to swallow pride and walk away. So again, I didn't ask if this is like what this issue you have is about, but these cards lead me to believe that it is relationship issues, and it's talking about swallowing your pride. Okay, so the next card that I'm pulling is the Ten of Wands, and this card is what helps, or what is helping the situation, or what's helping you cope, basically. This card, again, is an acceptance card. Accept and learn limits, observe boundaries. If you look in the card, he's holding the bundle of sticks, and the way he's holding them is super awkward, and it makes him feel like the weight of the world is on his shoulders, basically. And even though like he's holding this, nobody's forcing him to do this. So that's one of the key issues that comes up in this card, is that whatever you're going through, you're not being forced to stay where you're at, basically. That you have a choice. It might be a hard choice to accept, but it's your choice. You don't have to stay where you're at if you don't want to be, basically. And that's what this card brings about. It's oppression, domination. No one's forcing you to proceed. You've chosen this path for yourself. This card is a card about taking responsibility. Let me read my notes, sorry. Okay, this card is about boundaries being ignored. The other card, this card that I was talking about, the previous one, talking about 2 or 3 people, and now this card is talking about boundaries being ignored. So again, I don't know if this makes sense to you. It might be a reading for somebody else, but it's talking about boundaries being ignored. Led to excessive burdens. Certain limitations exist. Total overload. Um, if you continue leading the way you are down this path, you are going to go into total overload, basically, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, possibly. This issue, if you keep letting it happen, keep building and building, you are going to explode, basically. You need to acknowledge that there's some things that you can control and other things you can't control. And let's see. It also talks about optimism. So even though this guy is in an awkward or uncomfortable situation, there is an optimism. You have to think of things realistically. Don't disregard your limitations or your restrictions. So that's what could help your situation right now, is just evaluate what you're going through and think of what you are comfortable doing, basically. So the next card that I pulled for you, this represents the obstacles that you have to overcome. This is the Tower card. I don't know if you could actually see it, but this is a pretty scary card. If you look, like, in the background, there's clouds. It's a huge, like, thunderstorm happening, lightning striking the tower. Basically, this represents either your home or your emotions. Basically, habits. It could represent your habits or your way of life, the way you think. Let me read my notes. So since this is the obstacles that you need to overcome, basically this is breaking down old restrictive structures. Lightning striking, it clears the way for this building to basically be rebuilt. This card is a card of destruction. So basically, inspiration and vision breaks through old systems. Something's not working. Whatever you guys or you are doing, this is not functioning right, basically. It's not working. You have to basically clean out, get all the junk out of your system, whatever it is, put it all clear out on the table, clean it all out. Basically, if there is, say you have a cut, an infection in your cut, to clean out that infection, basically you have to clean it out, get all that junk out, bandage it up, do what you need to do and deal with it and move on so it could heal, basically. Now that is what I honestly think this has to do with your relationships going on. I don't know if it's your family or your significant other, but there's a lot of dysfunction happening in your home. It's a symbol of limitation, imprisonment, destructions, emotional restraint. There's confrontation. This card is a card of pride and arrogance. Basically, you need to find new ways to do things, healthier ways to deal with your issues, basically. It talks about change. Now, it might not necessarily mean that you need a change, or maybe change your outlook or how you deal with your emotions, or even your other family members. Something in your home or in your life is happening that is not healthy, basically. And this isn't in a negative way that I'm saying this. It's more like you need to reflect on the pros and cons of what's going on right now. And outweigh the pros. If, say, I don't know, if you have a negative outlook, you need to change your mindset to a more positive outlook to kind of be healthier, basically. Let's see. New ways to do things, change coming from society or within. Okay, again, so it might not be you. It could be your other family members. It's a lifestyle change, basically. Not carrying on. Now, this is a challenge for you and others, whatever you guys are going through. It's going to be a challenge to change, basically. Okay. So the next card that I got for you will represent attitudes. Now, attitudes could be your personal emotions towards the issue, or it could be other people's outside emotions affecting the situation. So again, it could be a loved one, your boss, or it's a general reading. I honestly don't know because I didn't ask prior to the reading, but since, again, I think it's relationship based or at least family based, this could pertain to your attitude towards the situation or other people's attitude towards the situation. And the card that I pulled, I don't know if you could read that. It's the Two of Wands reversed. Again, reversed cards have multiple meanings. It could reflect others' viewpoints, or could mean what viewpoint you need to have. Or it could mean the opposite, basically, of what the card means. This card is about reaching a goal or setting goals. And it's, I don't know if you can notice, but he's a traveler and he wants to make it to this place. But he's already set out on his journey. He's already got a mindset in mind, basically, and he wants to head over there. So this is like the beginning. Well, not the beginning, but it's the early process of what's happening, basically. So this card is about setting goals, goals in progress, early stages, contemplating your next step. It's going to be a journey, basically. It talks about judging what action is next or what steps need to be taken next. So if this is regarding your relationship, you need to focus on what your next step should be, basically. Okay, is the relationship failing, or do you guys need to go to counseling? Or this is the card that tells you this is what you need to be focusing on, is what can help this situation. Moving on, could going to counseling help? I don't know, but that's what this card is telling me, that this is what you need to focus on next, is what can help your situation. It talks about a steady foundation. So he's going to have to walk through the sand and everything else to get to where he wants to go. Right here, he has a straight, safer path to take. And over here, through the sand, it's more treacherous. You know, the ground isn't even. So what this card indicates is that you need to think about what would be a good foundation, what could be the healthier route, basically. Need to find a balance, lots of work to do. It's a card of ambition, high ideals. Ideals, basically standards. You need to set a high standard for yourself, for your life, what you want, and your goals in life, basically. Do you want to be in a rut all the time, or do you want to rise above, basically? Do you want something better? It talks about finding new, oh, that was the last card, sorry, I'm trying to read my notes and I went back. Positive sense of success, obstacles ahead. It talks about your gut intuition. I don't know if you have a gut instinct about what your issue is, what you're going through, but it talks about that, and you need to focus on your gut instinct. Yeah, so that's the end of that card. So the next card is what you should do or what you need to do. And this card, I get this a lot in the readings, and I'm not a fan of this card. Okay, so this card is the Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups, I don't know if you could see, there's 3 cups overturned, and these ones are still full. Basically, this cloaked figure is focusing on all that's lost, basically. All this is lost. And that's all that person could focus on, is all the negative, all the bad that's happening. But he doesn't notice that there's still positive things left over. He still has 2 full cups. And you know what? That's the human condition, basically, is that we as human beings tend to focus on only negative shit. Excuse my language, but that's what we do. We focus on all the negative instead of focusing on the positive. I do it all the time, you know, everybody does it once in a while, and it's not necessarily bad, but this card is the card of hope. You still have things that you have. So there's a sense of regret over past actions, something lost again, but there's something that still remains. I'm trying to read my notes as I go along. Focusing on over the, my notes aren't making sense. Tiny writing. Okay, the focus is over what's lost and not realizing you still have something left, looking at positive, blah, blah, blah. There's a way to overcome this. You have to keep your hope up. Something may be salvageable. Whatever the issues you're going through, you basically have to put the effort in to focus on the positive, basically. You may have already lost a big chunk of whatever it was, or all that emotion you're going through, but there's still a lot of good things left, and that's up to you if you want to focus on the positive and work towards filling your cups back up, basically. But it's up to you, but it's gonna be work. So the next card that I pulled for you will be the outcome. Okay, so this card did not give me a good feeling. The Temperance card, I don't know if you could see. Now, usually, the Temperance card, if it's not reversed, you got the Temperance card reversed. Usually, the Temperance card, I don't know if you could see, she's pouring cups in an even amount. An even amount. What this card symbolizes, basically, is that exactly that it's an equal amount, equal partnership, equal moderation. Moderation, successful blends, union of opposites, successful partnership. Temperance literally means the right amount. Having to work towards common goal, not just one person for themselves. So usually this card is a cohesive blend, basically. Equal partnership. Each person gets a fair amount. Basically, the perfect relationship, right? Well, since you got it reversed, I have a feeling that, I don't know if it's you or your spouse or you and another person, whatever you're going through right now, it's not a cohesive blend. And since this is the outcome of the situation, I have a feeling no matter what you try to do, no matter how much effort you try to put into it, it's still going to be not a cohesive partnership. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but you guys don't work perfectly together, basically. Either one person thinks too much of himself or herself, and it's not a good blend, and I didn't get a good feeling about this. So just keep that in mind. I'm sorry if that's bad news, but that's what I got on that card. Now, usually at the end of my readings, I like to do a final clarification card. This clarification card summarizes my whole gut instinct about the whole reading. And this card was dead on, spot on, like gave me like huge clarification on everything that I felt. And that card is the Three of Swords. Okay, so this card is about difficulties, heartache, and a welcome release of tension. So you've been going through a lot in your home and maybe your work or whatever it is, but this is a welcome release of tension. Now, when I talk about release, it means letting go. So it talks about sorrow, the storm. I don't know if you could see in there. I don't know if my camera could show you, but there's storm clouds and there's swords piercing the heart. And it just looks like a really, really sad card. And this card is sad, and it's gonna be tough, basically. Very painful to get through. But if you notice, there's lots of light shining through, and you see the doves, and I don't know if you could see around the picture or the frame of the window, there's butterflies. I don't know if birds and doves and butterflies mean anything to you, but doves and butterflies, to me, symbolizing the spirit or the heart rising above, being better, basically. The soul's ability to rise above to new heights, rise above the situation, basically. It talks about peace. The doves are a symbol of peace. Peaceful healing. It's a card of healing, whatever issues that you're going through. It talks about you're going to heal from this. The thing about this card, though, pain is inevitable. It's an issue that human beings go through on a daily basis. This is an issue that you're not alone, basically. It's inevitable. Every once in a while, we do go through painful issues. And the thing, like I said earlier about cleaning out a wound to get it healed, basically, it's painful to clean out that wound, basically, and to work towards a healthier life, basically. I said that word a lot, basically. I need to think of new words. Somebody get me a dictionary. Sometimes facing things head on and just suffering through the heartache is the easiest way to move on. This is a card of uneasiness, fearfulness. It's fearful to move on from a situation. If you've been with a certain person for so long, you're scared to move on. What am I going to do next, basically? If it's money, what am I going to do next? If I lost my job, what am I going to do? Uneasy. But this card is basically breaking through that initial fear. There's going to be a welcome release. Like, oh God, I am finally done. I'm done with this situation. I'm done. And that's what this card talks about, is that welcome release of tension. You're just like so over this situation, you're done. And it talks about a time to mourn. Now, this mourning isn't, I don't think it's about a death, but it talks about death. But the mourning process, now you can mourn a loved one passing over, but you could also mourn an old lifestyle or an old relationship. You need to have that time to yourself to move on and heal from the situation, basically. So that is all I have for you tonight. Again, I don't know if it made sense to you. I hope it did. Whatever you are going through, my prayers and my heart is with you. If you have any questions about any of the cards, just let me know. If you'd like another reading, again, just let me know. I'd really like some feedback, so if you could just maybe message me and let me know if it did or didn't make sense to you, and if it did make sense to you, if you could elaborate on what you're going through, or if it's too private of a matter and you really don't want to share, I can understand, but I do appreciate positive feedback. So yeah, I hope this has helped, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.